regular meeting of the Northmore ISD Board of Trustees, showing the time as 6 o'clock. We'll have invocation and pledge of allegiance, and the invocation will be led by Mr. Keith. And we'll do that pledge of allegiance first.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Mr. Keith.
Bow your head, please. Lord, thank you for this wonderful day that you have given us to be alive in the world. Bless us each and every day so we continue to do the great work that you allow us to do. Continue to bless this board with the great decision making that they do. Bless the administration and the teachers on these campuses to continue to do what is best for kids and keep that first. Continue to bless our district. Continue to bless our country as we continue to deal with the pandemic. And hopefully that can subside very, very soon. We all ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, item 3, public testimony. No one signed up for public testimony, so we'll move on to 4, consent agenda. So did everybody have a chance to go over the previous meeting minutes and any questions? No? Okay, so we just need a motion.
I move the agenda.
Okay, motion made by Bo, seconded by Sheila. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, motion carries 6-0. Okay, move on to item 5, action discussion items. Item A, discussion only, safety update by Officer Bose.
Thank you much, guys. I've got a copy of the security update for you. Number one, the first day of school coming back, we all know the traffic's going to be pretty rough with the backups, everybody dropping off, picking up first day of school, second day, third day, about 3 or 4 days in before it kind of subsides. We expect the road to be clear at around the Higgins and Everett area. We think the city's through. I spoke to one of the guys that were out there the other day, and hopefully it's going to be, they're going to be done with that at least during the busy hours. And we're going to continue to have Officer Dagenhart down in Everett in the afternoons. I'll be at the high school, Akron's at Bailey. We spread ourselves out for strategic reasons, of course, just in case there are any problems with traffic accidents or anything like that. Let's see. Moving on down, we've got. We did have a meeting with the principals and the security committee that we have, and we got some things hashed out there. Looking forward to doing some more things with that. We've got the card readers all situated places throughout the district since I spoke to y'all last year about this, and I believe every employee has access to the cards to get in. It makes it a little more safer for the employees as they're coming in. A whole lot more convenient, and for security purposes, it's a great. Reno PD, the county, and DPS will be helping us out quite a bit with school zones this year, especially right at first. We are within the campus right at first, and then we start helping on the outer sides of it. Sporting events is pretty much the same unless the state comes out with different things related to COVID. Number 7 is FM 38. FM 38, I went to a meeting. They are going to undergo, it's kind of hard to describe it to you guys, but it's going to start in Brookston at 82, go up and over on the north end of it, and come back down in Petty, and there it's going to be a total of 310-day project. Our buses have been notified. Clint has got transportation ready to reroute if we need to, and we'll get that all situated. We've only got about 2 buses. That's going to affect maybe 3. So we should have that situated. We'll monitor it by radio if they need anything. Get them out there, get the kids dealt with, and get them home. Let's see. The training for the T-Cole police officers, that's all started back up again. Every 2 years we have to have 40 hours. Well, the guys do have to have 80. And we've got that rolling already. We completed some Alice training today with Stone Middle School and the high school. We got those folks trained. Feel pretty good about it. I need a little more time with them, but we'll get it as we go and kind of as we get back into it. And then our state mandated security meeting. It was held on 7/28, and we got all that dealt with as well. And we meet all guidelines by the state. So any questions or anything you might have? Good. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and item B, discussion only, athletic update by Mr. Klein.
Good evening.
Hello.
So, a couple of things with our athletic department. First of all, it's a lot of energy and buzz going around the field house now. We have cross-country, volleyball, and football that is getting underway. Our athletes had a great summer and is carrying on right now into the fall season. Currently, we have 54 young men out at football practice. We're hoping to get those numbers up when we get back into school and keep recruiting the hallways and encourage more people to come out. They scrimmage this Friday at 6 o'clock with our freshmen and 7:30 with our varsity, so we'd love to have everyone come out and support them. Got a great staff. Those gentlemen are doing a great job, and on occasion I get to go out and watch and help out a little bit, so I still enjoy that. Our volleyball team is 3 teams, of course, and right now they are rolling as well. Last week they went to Salina for a scrimmage, and on Saturday we were at Paris High, and I went over and I saw a lot of positive things. Of course, if you talk to the coaches, we always have a lot to work on before our opening game, but that'll be here before we know it. But a lot of positives with that. Cross country, if you've been up early in the morning, they're out running. There's 26 of them out running at the current time. We have 16 girls and 10 boys, so continue to push that, try to get some more numbers out. Their first meet will be August 26th at Avery. So right now everything is going great. We're excited. There's a lot of energy, a lot of new coaches. Just trying to get more kids to come out and participate, as we feel that's a great benefit to their educational process. And then the last thing for me will be our online tickets. Everything will be online again this year as far as purchasing tickets. We have a new vendor. It's called Ticket Spigot. We think they're going to be much easier to accommodate our fans and for our workers. Some of the things with that, we'll have football season tickets going on soon. They're setting up our platform right now. Should have it back by the end of this week so that we can make it public, get it on the websites and the social media accounts so that people can purchase the tickets. If you were a football season ticket holder in the past, those seats will be reserved for those individuals to purchase whenever it goes live. And they'll be blocked off just for them. Some neat things about the new system will be, instead of having to scan tickets with the ticket taker now, fans will be able to actually check in online and just show their phone to the individual working the gate, which will be their ticket, which will get them into the game. And we'll be able to purchase tickets through the website even while you're standing in line, so we hope this will help accommodate long lines and the waiting time to get into an event. So that's all I have. Just excited and we're ready to get going.
Good. Thank you. Item C, consideration and approval, proposals for bids. Mr. Landis.
You have in front of you tonight a list of vendors that we have contracted services for the school year of 21-26, and I'm seeking approval. One is Complete Supplies for janitors. We only had one bid. Pest Control was A1 Buck Service. We only had one bid. Plumbing, Exit Plumbing, only one bid. AC Services, Paris area, only one bid. And Electrical, only one bid, Kelly's Electric.
Do we need a motion on that?
We do.
I move we accept these bids.
Okay, motion made by Sheila, seconded. Okay, so all those in favor, I'm sorry, seconded by Jimmy, I'm sorry. All those in favor? All those opposed? And Bo, you have to abstain? Okay, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, And item D, discussion only, NLISD 21-22 Student Handbook. Mr. Watson.
I put on your board a copy of the student handbook for this upcoming year. And there's not a lot of changes from last year, just about 3 things. One was the dress code. There was a few minor changes. That was on page 59. If you have that and you want to look through it. And it was after talking with the principals and other administrators, we decided that we looked at the things that we didn't think disrupted the educational process, and so we were a little more lenient on some of the things that we haven't in the past. As far as hair length, it's just got to be neat and clean and out of their eyes. Before they, had, I think it was shoulder length or something like that. Most of them are about that length anyhow, but and then the earrings for boys, they did not think this day and time that was a big issue, and so they allowed that. So that was the main 2 things on the dress code. One of the other changes is our grading policy, which is on page 65. And basically what we did, we had a grading policy that reflected our 6-week grading period. And since we're going to a 9-week grading period, we had to make those changes, because on a 6 weeks grading period, you do a progress report after 3 weeks midway, and a 9-week, we're going to do it every 3 weeks, so that the parents get an updated report at 3 weeks, and then 6 weeks, and then a report card at 9 weeks. So that was the change on that. And then the other thing is, last year we took out the semester exam exemption because of COVID and attendance. We was afraid that kids would still try to come to school when they were sick. And so we put the semester exam exemption back in, but we took out the attendance. And so basically it goes off your grade, and then no discipline issues that require you to be taken out of class, like ISS or suspension or VAP or something like that. And we also, in that exemption policy, instead of being exempt for all exams, they're just going to be exempt from 1 exam. And the reason that we did that was because of the input from our administrators saying that a lot of kids that are in the upper class, if they've been exempt their whole high school year, not taking a comprehensive exam, when they get to college and they have to take semester exams, they're not as prepared as they could be. So we're rewarding them on some, but they still have to take some of the exams so that they get that practice too. But seniors, their spring semester, they can be exempt from all their exams that last semester. So that's what the administrators agreed to, the ones that affect, which is junior high and high school campuses. And so that's pretty much the only change on the student handbook.
Okay, so you said they would be exempt from 1? Like if they have 7 classes, they're exempt from 1 of those?
Yes. And they can choose which one they want. And that's similar to some other school districts that do exemption policy like that. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you. And then, of course, we'll move on to consideration and approval, item E, which is the NLISD 2021 Student Code of Conduct.
Okay.
Mr. Watson.
Each year, by state law, you have to adopt the student code of conduct, and TASB Legal is the one that puts that together, and it just puts it together because of usually they do an update every 2 years as the legislature meets and new laws come in. They'll do some tweaks, and there wasn't a whole lot of changes, just some wording in it, but it is written by TASB Legal, and it's our recommendation that we adopt the student code of conduct that TASB has put forward.
We just need a motion. Motion made by Bo, seconded by Red. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And item F, discussion only, the STAR and EOC and House Bill 4545, Dr. Chadwick.
Okay, Okay, so I'd like to share some of this information with you. The STAR scores is very high-level overview, just generating averages, percentages based on comparison to state and region. We'll go to deeper comparisons in our next conversation, but I know that y'all are interested, and I'm interested in getting that out to you. The other thing is we need to talk about how House Bill 4545 is impacted by STAR scores because it's based solely on the result of these tests. So I think that if we start with House Bill 4545 and then share a little bit of information on that, you got this to the administrator address letter that TEA sent to the districts on June 25 because this bill became effective as of June 16th. It requires a new requirement for accelerated instruction for students who do not pass the STAR, and it requires STAR 3, 5, and 8th grade math or reading to have accelerated learning committee meetings so that the parents can get involved at that stage and meet with the administration and teachers to see, okay, what are we going to do to shore this up? That's kind of the stopgap, 3rd, 5th, and 8th grade. So the way we're doing it, those meetings started today. We're meeting with the next grade level principal so that they can start establishing relationships, because if they met with the grade principal from the prior year, then that would be the year that they just left. So we moved that forward, and all those meetings started today. They're going to continue Wednesday. They did a lot of scheduling. So we jumped right in to get those relationships started and build whatever it is they're going to be doing. If you look to that 3rd page, it shows you the makeup of accelerated learning committees, who has to be there. It must be comprised of the principal or principal's designee, student's parent or guardian, and a teacher of the subject of the assessment that the student failed. So all of the details that had to go with that. Also, supplemental instruction now is required for any student who failed any of the STAR tests. If you look down on that 3rd page to the bottom where it says supplemental instruction requirements, that's page 177, as noted. It says they must be provided for no less than 30 hours of targeted tutorials. Those tutorials should be delivered in one-to-one or small group environment with no more than 3 students in a small group, unless a waiver is signed by a parent for a larger group size. So what all this did is it created the need for a lot of frequently asked questions, and this document right here that is 27 pages long is the list of questions that came out of House Bill 5. So this was updated as recently as August 5th. So we're still getting a lot of questions. We're still getting a lot of responses from TEA as to how to manage all of this. But the basic guiding principle that they said is do the best you can. We know we threw this at you at the last minute. Do the best you can to make all of these things happen. And they said that they would not be heavily auditing this process this year, but to expect it to continue in the future. So this kind of gives us the year to start taking care of these things and setting up those procedures and processes, which the ESSER 3 money that you saw previously will be supporting the need for all of these things to happen, the additional tutoring and things like that. So that's House Bill 4545. So just to stop before we move on to what our numbers look like for those tutoring, do you have any questions about House Bill 4545 itself? Okay, so this document right here that talked about the failure numbers, which we don't typically stand up here and just talk about the failure numbers, but this is in response to House Bill 4545. Now, I put another page on I handed you another page because the back side of this, I forgot to get into the order. So the back side has your EOCs, the front side has your 3 through 8. For me, it's front and back. For you, it's one page and then the back page that I handed you, okay? So this it's very descriptive as to, obviously, the column, the course, the grade, the number of tests that were taken, the percent that were failed, the number of tests that were failed. So if you look at the number of tests that were failed, you can start calculating in your mind, okay, 30 hours for tutorials for every one of those tests that were failed. And that's what we as a district are looking at. Fortunately, it's broken up campus by campus, and these principals have taken this on, jumped right in to make sure that all of these tutoring events, in the manner that TEA says that we have to do them, are taken care of. But it's a lot. It's a lot. Do you see on the back or the page that I handed you the EOC results? EOC results include the results of summer school, so some additional students who were able to come off of that list. So the previous, before summer school isn't listed, this is after summer school numbers. These also might include, the House Bill 4545 also included students who didn't take the test at all, who might have stayed home because they were in quarantine. We are allowed to give those students an assessment test when they come back, and if they pass, they won't have to go through the tutoring process. So they're giving us some leeway with that. So just showing you these numbers, not as the numbers, I would like to, after, if you have any questions about this, go over what you got as a little bitty tiny spreadsheet. What I got is a big blown up spreadsheet so I can see the numbers, because it's tiny, and I apologize for that, but again, I'll provide you the floor. Do you have any questions on the required number of tutorials? Because I just thought this was an interesting concept. You can see what House Bill 4545 has done and how it's shooting, toward us as a district. There's districts that have a lot more tutorials than this, and there's, I'm sure, some districts that have less. I think we're in the category of fewer for the most part. Any questions on these numbers specifically before we get into the overall state, regional, and local comparison data? Okay. All right, so on your state, regional, and local comparison numbers, again, this is very high-level overview of district-wide averages. Nothing's broken down by campus. It is by grade, by subject. So as you look at this, and I know it's hard to see, I apologize for that. Next time I'll do a better job for you. The first column, in the first three columns, is the scale score. And so the first column in each of the three columns is the state result, the middle column is the region result, and the third column is the North Lamar result. So it's in groups of threes, okay? So the first one is the scale score. The next group of three are the did not meet approaches scores. So in all of these groupings, but this particular one, you wanted to have the highest number. In this particular one, you wanted to have the lowest number, because you wanted to have the fewest number of students who did not meet a passing score. The next one is our approaches, state, region, and local. So the next three are approaches. The next three are meets, and the next three are masters. So for some summaries, if you look at that final one, you can see what the highest was, and there were 5 groupings. If there's a 5, that means we were the highest of state and region across the board. In scale score, it did not meet in approaches, meets, and masters. Of 22 possible from 3rd grade reading to end of course U.S. history, of 22, we were higher than state and region in 11 of those. So for 50%, we were highest. And I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of a breakdown. In 3rd grade reading and math, we were higher than Texas and the region in all 5 categories. In 5th grade math and science, we were higher than Texas and region in all 5 categories. In 5th grade reading, we were higher than all but 2, and in those 2 we equaled the state. So we weren't below the state, we equaled the state. In 6th grade math, we were highest in 4, and then we tied the region in the 5th one. I'm just kind of going down this left-hand column, the farthest left-hand column. In 7th grade reading, math, and writing, we were highest in all, Texas and region. In 8th grade reading, highest in all. In 8th grade math, we were highest in all but masters in 1 category. So that's pretty phenomenal. Same in social studies. We were 8th grade social studies, highest in all but the masters category. Now, in EOC, this is where it just, for me, kind of jumps off the chart. Things to celebrate. North Point High School fared better in 9 out of 15 categories in comparison to statewide end-of-course results for 2019 versus 2021. So now we're comparison back. We're above the state in every category for 21. Above the state in every category. English 2 Masters, Biology Masters, and all of U.S. History improved. And we fared better as compared to region in all subjects other than Algebra 1. So our end-of-course exams, we were higher than state in all content areas across the board on the average. So we've got a lot of things to celebrate according to this document when you look at the very high-level overview. It also exposes a few things that we know that we need to work on. That's what we do with data. We look at it and we move forward and say, okay, here's some targeted areas that we know we're going to spend some time and a lot of resources on and support. And then we know where we can celebrate and then just keep encouraging and urging the same performance for next year. Any specific or you couldn't read it? Questions? So next month, I'm looking at doing a deeper dive into state testing data and review where we are with our district goals that we set a couple of years ago so that we can, since we didn't have scores last year, we can compare. And we'll compare previous year's scores in county and comparable campus scores. So anything else that you'd like to see, visit about?
Can the teachers, I know we used to do this, can the teachers look at the test data like for each individual student that they have?
Yes.
They will have access to that.
Yes.
The tests, the questions that were missed the most?
Yes, they have all of that for analysis.
And you know, kind of get an idea of where, what areas, like in biology or whatever, that we
Yes.
might be. So, well, that's good. That the
Our
teachers.
procedure is to take that information as we go into the year, look at our year-to-glance calendar, so we lay the entire calendar out, and then look at where the TEKs that were missed the most are covered, the units that they're covered in, and make sure we're either adding some time to those units or spiraling those specific questions back into the year, knowing that that's where we fell short last year. So all of that data is analyzed, and that will be being worked on this week. And then we have embedded days throughout the school year before each 9 weeks to bring that data forward and make sure that we're staying on pace.
I'm pretty amazed. Trying to make this U.S. history test harder. I know when we get up in the 95%, then the next year it would be harder and we'd be down to 87%. And they don't like where you get too high up there now. And that's awesome. I think this is an awesome report.
I'm impressed. I mean, that says a lot about our staff and students during COVID to do that.
These teachers who were home, whose kids were sent home, who persevered throughout this the worst year of education in the history of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just amazed, thoroughly amazed.
They did a great job.
Who kept supporting them through all of that. It's a big kudos to those people on the campus who made it happen.
Absolutely. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Okay. Okay. So, Ms. Chadwick, you're up.
I'm sorry,
Ms.
I was so ready.
That's okay. So this will be item G, consideration and approval, the appraisal calendar for the 2021-2022 school year.
Yes, I
Ms.
set
Chadwick.
that on your plate as well, so you can look and see, following the rules that the state sets forth that are written here, and the calendar where you can see it here, how it's overlaid with our school calendar, what the dates are. We did have our initial all teachers new to the district. We had that orientation on August 4th already.
So we will just need a motion to. Okay, motion made by Red, seconded by Bo. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Oh, you have the next one too. I'm sorry. So item H, consideration approval appraisers for the 2021-2022 school year.
Okay, so you have your T-test certified appraisers listed on the page, as well as your T-test certified appraisers. Your T-test certified appraisers are those who are appraising the teachers, and T-test are those appraising principals. This is everyone who has currently completed their state appraisal process.
I move we accept these appraisers.
Motion made by Sheila, seconded by Bo. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. And we'll move on to item 6, Superintendent's report. Ms. Stewart?
Start tonight by going over our back-to-school information. In your board book, you had a copy of the posting that we have out on our Facebook page, and that's our back-to-school campus events. We had our freshman orientation at the high school on August 4th, and then August 12th, Higgins, Everett, and Bailey have Meet the Teacher from 4 to 6. Aaron Parker Elementary has Meet the Teacher from 5 to 7. And Stone Middle School and Northmar High School have the scheduled pickup and Meet the Teacher from 4 to 6. And then our first day of school is August 16th. I also would like for you to look at the next page. I want to go over the safety protocols and guidelines for students and staff. Mr. Watson and Justine Weidman oversee our COVID procedures for the district, but I wanted to share this with you tonight. This will be placed on our website, the chart that you're looking at, so that all of our parents can see this. The top priorities of Northmar ISD are for the safety and academic success for our students, and we feel like it's important that we put on our website how we're going to address safety protocols this year versus what we did last year with the pandemic. So as you can see, it talks about face coverings are not required. However, if we have a student who would like to wear a face covering, they are welcome to wear it. COVID-19 vaccinations are not mandatory, and our facilities will be disinfected regularly, and cleaning and disinfecting supplies will be provided to teachers if they would like to provide any extra cleaning to their particular classroom. The health and safety is new information that was released to us last week by Commissioner Morath. So if you will scroll down to about the middle part, where it talks about, in the case of an individual who tests positive for COVID-19, the individual may return to school when all 3 of the following CDC criteria are met. At least 1 day or 24 hours has passed since recovery, the resolution of fever without the use of fever-reducing medications. The individual has improved in symptoms, examples cough, shortness of breath, and at least 10 days have passed since symptoms first appeared. In the case of an individual who has symptoms for COVID-19, the individual may return to school when the following criteria are met, or at least 10 days have passed since the symptoms first appeared. At least 1 day or 24 hours has passed since recovery, reduction, or resolution of fever without the use of fever-reducing medications, and the individual has a negative test result. So any staff or student that has tested positive for COVID-19 will need to be cleared by the campus nurse and or the principal or their direct supervisor before they can return to work or to school. So basically the difference that you see in what the Texas Education Agency released this year versus last year is if a student comes down with a symptom and they are sent home from school, then they can go and get a test at the local health department. Those are free. They get a negative result, they can bring that negative result back to the nurse the next day and they can come back to class. So we will not be quarantining mass amounts like we did last year, as far as if one kid tests positive in a classroom, then the entire class has to go home. So I wanted to share that guideline with you. Also, for transportation, we will continue to do what we've done in the past and have the assigned seats, and we will continue to ask that they try to social distance at the bus stops while they're waiting for the bus to get there. We are going to allow visitors on our campuses like we have in the past, and our athletics and our activities, especially UIL events, everything's going to return to normal unless we receive any guidance from UIL that tells us that we have to do something differently. So I thought this was important to go over with you all tonight. I'm sure you probably have questions from some of our community, so I wanted you to have this with you so that you would have it for a reference, and then we're going to also place it on our website. I also want to go over with you the remote conferencing, which is something really new. They just released this on August 5th. It is something that North Lamar ISD will be participating in. If you remember the last board meeting, we talked about the quarantining process, and at the time the state was saying they were not going to provide any funding to school districts for remote learning. That had a lot of red flags that raised for some of us, because if your child is COVID positive, we don't want them stressed out about the fact that they need to be at school because they're going to get behind. So remote conferencing is hopefully will take that fear away from the kid. We want the kid to be at home. We want our children to get better. This is our employees as well. So if you'll look on page 1, what TEA has come out with now is that we can receive funding for remote conferencing. Now, remote conferencing is a lot different than remote instruction like we did last year. So there are 2 requirements that must be met in order for remote conferencing to take place. And if the student is unable to attend school because of a temporary medical condition, or the total amount of remote conferencing instruction does not exceed more than 20 instructional days for the entirety of the school year. So that means 20 hours total for one child for the entire school year. So what we're looking at, and we're currently working on this with our administrators, if we have a COVID positive student, then we are going to provide them with a laptop and a hotspot if they need one. Some of our students have internet connection in their house and they have their own laptops. But if they need them, then we're going to check those out to our students. And then we are going to have our teachers upload all of their lessons on Google Classroom, which they are already familiar with, so that our students can have access to those for the 10 days that they are out. And we're also going to have a conference set up each day, and this is not going to be done by maybe their math teacher or their reading teacher. We are going to have someone, whether it is a teacher on their campus that maybe has an extra period available. I know we have a couple of campuses where they are going to have one designated teacher on their campus that's going to do the remote conferencing. For some of the other campuses, we've thought about having some of our retired teachers help with this, so that they can go online and have that conference with the kid each day, go over their lessons with them, and see if there's anything that the students need help with. The reason that a lot of school districts in Texas are looking at doing this is because there was a lot of teachers that were having concerns last year, because some of them would have a Zoom going at the same time that they were trying to teach the kids that were in class, and they were concerned that the kids that were on Zoom might not have gotten as much individual attention as the kids that were sitting in the classroom. So this is going to help provide a little bit more one-on-one instruction for those kids that are at home and they need that support. So I wanted you all to know that this is a work in progress. Of course, we just got this on August 5th, but our teachers and administrators were already working to put together a plan, and the state has said that if we provide the remote conferencing, that they will provide funding to the district for our students that are COVID positive, or if the nurse has sent the child home to quarantine and they're at home on quarantine and they haven't received a negative result yet. So those are the students that we'll be providing this service to. I know that's a lot, so if you have any questions regarding that, just let me know. As more information comes out from the state, I'll be glad to share that with you all. Tonight, we have Corey Wood from HWH here and Michael Strain here with us from Park Hill. We wanted to give you all an update on where we are as far as the bond progress. On July 27th, Park Hill came in and we had a meeting with our teachers that are actually serving on the design team and our administrators that are on the design team, and we also met with a group of community members that served on the PAC committee to give them an overview of where we were with the actual design of the school. So in front of you, you have a copy that looks like this. This are a few slides out of a PowerPoint that I wanted to share with you. This is kind of an overview of the school. So you can see the entrance to the school will be right off of 271 at this red light coming in directly to the north of the building that we're currently sitting in. You can see the parent drop-off lines. There are 3 parent drop-off sites. This will help to keep the traffic moving. So there will be one to the west of the building, to the north of the building, and to the east of the building. Our plan is to keep the bus traffic separate from the parent traffic, so the bus traffic will run through the south part of the south of the building. On the second page, it's a little bit better of an overall site view so that you can see the aerial view on where we will be routing traffic. So there will be a road south of the campus where the buses will route from, and it will go along this back boundary and connect behind the high school, which would be west of the ag barn, where the road will come out. So we're hoping to keep the traffic flowing smoothly so that our parents can have different access points to get in and out, and we don't want to cause them to be late to work in the mornings when they're dropping kids off. So we've done a lot of study on the traffic patterns. On the back page, this is I would like to state this is not finished. We are about 75% of the way finished with this plan. We make changes to it every day, but you can see there's been a lot of safety measures that have gone into place in designing this building. So when you enter the building, you are in a secured area. Once you get into the secured area, you will go into the reception area where the secretaries will sit. You will have the parents or visitors will check in this area, and you can see the door to the right. Once that door is unlocked, then they can get into the commons area. There's one main hallway that goes through a discovery zone. This discovery area is a really neat concept. There's furniture in the middle of this big area, and on each side, on each wall, there are large projection screens that you can pretty much do any type of virtual field trip with, or any concept that you are studying. You can show pictures, videos. It's really interesting what all you can do with this area. As you move on down the hallway, you can see that each of the squares, those are your neighborhoods. The neighborhoods have 2 entrances from the inside. At any point in time, if there's a threat in the building, one button can be pushed and every neighborhood can be shut down to where no one can enter into that grade level. As you can tell by looking at the neighborhood, they can fully function within their neighborhood if that were to happen. So you've got all of your classrooms for one grade level, a collaboration hub, you've got the PLC space, you have your intervention rooms, and you have a workroom, and you have the restrooms for the staff and for the children. So everything is in one neighborhood for each grade level. You do have emergency exits in each neighborhood. Those are in orange, so you can see those hallways and where those students are exiting. There will be 2 playgrounds and I'm sorry it's not on this picture, but there's one to the north of the 2 neighborhoods and one to the south of the 2 neighborhoods. Those playgrounds will have turf on them, and the concept there is that, you know, once the weather, if you have bad weather, you don't have to worry about kids tracking mud in the building. It'll be turf so the kids can go out and play as soon as the bad weather subsides. So we're really excited about that. The gymnasium is in the front of the building, so that if the gym were to ever be used for any type of athletic tournament, that can be totally shut off, so the building can be used for that purpose without the rest of the building being available for anyone to get into any of the classrooms or any of the other areas. Off the very front of the building, you have your library there. You'll see your cafeteria, and there is a stage in the cafeteria that butts up to the music room, so that anytime we have music presentations or programs or plays, they will have access to that stage area, and awards assemblies, anything of that nature, so that when our parents come in, we will have plenty of room for parents and kids and have the stage in there as well. So I know this is a lot. I've asked Corey and Michael to come tonight to really focus on timelines, because I have a lot of people that are asking me, when are we going to start seeing progress? So that's what these guys are here for tonight, so that they can kind of walk us through that. So Michael, we'll start with you.
Okay, so I think everybody got a copy of the draft master plan. Looks like this. And when I say draft, I mean really, it is a really, really rough draft. In fact, when I picked it up, I realized they misprinted, so I apologize for that. It should be kind of a book format when you're looking at pages. Every other one. But anyways, we're going to update this as we go, but just talk about the timeline. If you'll go to page 3, it looks like this. Same thing that's on the wall over there. And I apologize how small the text is, but I'll go through it. That's why we blew it up for you. Print that out for us. It's the same schedule, just a little bit different. The only thing that is different on here is you have these big bars that show the years, just so small to kind of help you see where that goes. And then there are more tasks, more subtasks broken out that you don't see on that. Those are not critical for what we're going to talk about today, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through how we planned your projects in the bond. That's the key part. So we can move these around and change them. The only thing that we don't want to do is take a project that is scheduled to go first and put it later on, because we didn't build inflation models for projects to do that. Now, if you want to take a project that's later in the schedule and bring it forward, we're totally good with doing that. No problems there from a dollar standpoint. Okay, so I'm going to go through this. You might have to kind of put them together like this, just so you can see both pages at once. I apologize for that. So we're going to start where it says new 2 through 5th. So what you see there is the new elementary school. So if it's in blue, that means that's in our design processes. And so we did start the design process right after the bond finished. We are in the middle of that right now. We're in what we call schematic design. We are trying to get the floor plan and site plan finished up and approved so that we can actually get all the engineers engaged and have everyone start working on that. And then we'll go into construction documents in the fall. And then our current plan for now is to put bid documents out on the street early spring, so sometime around February, March, to have that. And if you will go to the next page, you will see some continuance of this kind of salmon color line on the next page. Well, you should. Sorry. Oh, no, it doesn't. So it finishes in fall of 23, right there at where the first page ends. So we're looking at a fall 2023 opening for the new elementary school. And then the 2 projects that you have under that, if you'll go to that second page, you'll see Parker Elementary and Everett Elementary. So we have those 2 going in parallel right now. We had planned to put those out for construction right after the new elementary school is finishing. If you needed swing space for Everett or Parker for any reason, you could use the new elementary school for that. And that's why we built those to come right after the new elementary. And then obviously the demo and repurpose of Bailey comes after Parker and Everett, and then the demolition of Higgins comes later after the new elementary, Parker, and Everett are all complete. So that's pretty much it for the elementary schools. If we'll go back to that first page, and we go down just a little bit, where you'll see some more projects down here closer to the bottom. You'll see Frank Stone Middle School on there. So we had currently planned that in the bond planning to be a summer project. So we're anticipating having some construction start as soon as possible. So maybe even right after spring break, but definitely by the summer and throughout the summer months to get that project completed before the students come back in the fall of 22. Same thing for the gym floors. So originally the gym floors were part of the high school improvement project, which I'll talk about in a minute. That was requested to pull it forward, so we pulled it forward on the schedule. So all we did was pull out just the gym floor replacement for the high school. And again, it kind of runs somewhat concurrent with the Frank Stone project. We want to have that right after spring break, access into the gyms, if that's, unless you're Plain State or anything like that. We want to get in there as soon as we can, start that work, and have it completed before fall 22. And then right under that, you'll see the fields and track projects. Those purple bars that you see in there, those are to indicate the start and stop points of different sports and things. So we're trying to work around lots of different activities that are going in. Unfortunately, we can't work around all of them, and especially those being grass fields, we need to get them in during planting season. So we are anticipating doing some of those projects in the early spring, so we'll have to work around those. And then if we'll go to the second page again, down at the bottom, you have the Fine Arts Project and the High School Improvements Project. And the only reason these are further back on this schedule than pulled forward really is because of your subcontract market. When we did the planning, we wanted to make sure that we spread all of the work out enough where we could utilize your local subcontractors and not have to pull somebody from Sherman, Dallas, or any of those other places. And that's why it's spread out. Like I said, we're working with HWH and Corey's team to see, if we can pull some of those forward, if we can, and not have, we don't want to have one project suffering and another one going really well in construction because of that subcontract market. So that's why we'll split them out. But if we can get them pulled forward a little bit and not have those issues, we'd like to pull them forward for you guys to finish them a little bit faster. So the High School Fine Arts Edition, you can see we would be putting that out for bid, that salmon color line, during the summer of '24. And it'll be finishing up for just in time for summer band camp in August, summer of 2025. And then if you look at the high school improvements, that one falls right behind the High School Fine Arts Edition. And the reason it does is because a lot of the areas that we're working in are existing fine arts areas. So we want to be able to move all the things out into the new edition and then start that work. So that's how they cascade that way. And you see that project finishing, I believe that is in December of 2025. So I know that's a lot all at once. It'll turn anybody's brain inside out. And that's why we printed it large over there. Corey, is there anything you want to add?
We've looked at some of the projects, like you said. Of course, there is concern with the work that's going on in the area about subcontractors, but we talked early on in the process. I mean, what we've got put together right now seems pretty achievable. Can things be moved up? Yeah, I think we see some things that are going to be moved up too. We all are concerned about the market and deliverables on things and time frames. I mean, COVID is still affecting us, and there's no way around it. We start to see some things get better, but realistically, the time frames we've got in there, we feel comfortable with them right now. We'll see how they go. Like I said, moving some of your athletic facilities up, and because I know everybody wants to see some things going on. We're looking at some HVAC things, some other projects that might go quicker. So we can see some projects going on, possibly this year, early part of next year. See construction starting.
Just one thing I want to add to that too. I think during the bond planning we talked a lot about what's going on with COVID, and I think if you've been watching these, you've probably heard a lot. There's a lot of product shortages. There's lots of labor shortages. There's lots of demand in the market still too, which conversely those can be problems obviously because there's one problem that leads to the other. So we are watching those. We are watching them on a regular basis, and so does HWH. And so we've tried to make sure your schedules are insulated a little bit from that, and we can't promise anything because that changes on us on a weekly basis. I wish I could say a month or every 3 or 4 months, but it's gotten down to weeks now. So the good thing is we have them on board. We're already working with them, and that's exactly why we wanted to have a construction manager at risk in the first place, so that we could be looking out for these things in advance. And should we need to make any changes in schedule to bring things forward or advance something out in the field to maintain your schedule, we'd like to be able to do that. So any questions on schedule. If we update anything for any reason, I'd like to come back and let everybody know, but that's currently how everything's been planned based on that.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, so we'll move on to item 7, executive session. The board will conduct a closed meeting in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, subchapters D and E. And time out is 6:55.